she is, boys! Here she is, world! Here's
Rosalind Russell on another episode of the Top 10 Favorite, and from what I believe, folks, are the best performances by some of the greatest actresses in all of cinema.
Now get this, you double-crossing chimpanzee.
I am starting from 10 and then hauling out the holly up to number 1. I know it's on a different musical, not this one. And you need to remember, I have seen every film attainable of each artist here, folks. That's right. So every list here comes from sensational, dazzling, authentic, sophisticated, and hilarious accuracy. Happiest of holidays to you, folks, from the bottom of my heart. And here is the episode I'm sure a lot of folks have been waiting for, that I've been waiting for, my goodness. Before the year is over, we are talking about, honestly, one of the most underrated artists in all of cinema. She is beloved, highly praised, highly popular, but still, in my opinion, underappreciated. The dynamically beautiful Rosalind Russell. Catherine Rosalind Russell was born in Waterbury, Connecticut, in a lovely Irish Catholic family named after the ship her parents traveled on to America. She was brought up very much a devoted Catholic, but grew into the arts very rapidly, attending Marymount College and then the famous AMDA, the Academy of Dramatic Arts. She kept the whole acting journey a secret, for her parents thought she was training to become a teacher. After she graduated, she joined many stock companies, and her parents got around to her being an actress, because the fact was, Rosalind was pretty damn good, even in her young years. She trained endlessly to be a solid triple threat, with much more of the focus being on strict acting. The 1930s called and said they wanted Rosalind to be a film actress, so off she went to LA without really knowing a single helpful soul, but made it to Universal without any respect. Once she got the opportunity to screen test for MGM, she was really noticed. And like any self-respecting artist who starts from nothing, they work their way up in the industry to then gain worldwide recognition, like Rosalind Russell absolutely deserved. I honestly swear, folks, Rosalind Russell does not get the appreciation she deserves today even. Sure, all of us classic film lovers know her, love her, watch her all the time, and it's not like the critics or her peers didn't respect her. But when certain icons like Joan Crawford, Bette Davis, Katharine Hepburn, Norma Shearer, Joan Fontaine, etc. get their Oscars in high respect, you think, where's the Oscar in respect for Roz? I guess that leaves it to us artists and classic film lovers, which we will gladly fill whatever kind of void. From Broadway to cinema, folks, Rosalind Russell is one of the greatest that left the biggest smile, no matter whether you're down and out or high on life.
Live! That's the message! Live! Yes!
Yes, let's just get right to it. Let's get cracking on the top 10 best performances of the fabulous, fantastic, sensational, our auntie, Rosalind Russell. Okay, starting off at number 10 is a little entertaining play to film adaptation starring Roz as Bertha in A Majority of One, a relatively sheltered hermit of a mother she is, who is convinced to move to Tokyo with her newly married daughter and son-in-law to live a new life, even though she has strong prejudices against Japan because of her son dying in World War II. But when she meets Mr. Asano, played by Sir Alec Guinness, her sentiments might be changed, but not without some fighting, that's for sure. It's actually not a bad film, folks. I mean, sure, we all know the makeup for Alec is not the best, not offensive at all. But Rosalind Russell really makes Bertha so warm and giving in her Golden Globe winning performance for Best Actress. The role was eyed for Barbara Stanwyck, and Roz even wanted Gertrude Berg, who originated the role on Broadway, to play it for the film. But Jack Warner only wanted Roz. And good call, because Roz can really give more of herself, a piece of herself, to any role she played. Number 9, The Trouble with Angels.
Mary, get rid of the bird's nest. Oh, not that one. That one.
Welcome back to Happy Acres.
One of the great classics of the 1960s and just in general. Starring Rosalind as Mother Superior at St. Francis Academy, an all-girl Catholic boarding school, but Mother Superior has her hands full with two particular students, Rachel and Mary, played by June Harding and Haley Mills. This is certainly a dear treasure for the ages, folks, and I argue one of the great coming-of-age tales in film, based on the 1962 memoir, Life with Mother Superior. Columbia wanted Greta Garbo to play Mother Superior, which would have been interesting, but Garbo wasn't coming out of retirement, that's for sure. Rosalind was next in line, and it made all the sense in the world, having grown up Catholic herself, and in her own words, been around nuns her whole life, and she wanted to do justice with them. She gives Mother Superior that stern bite, yet graceful humor that makes us love her, even though she is as strict as heaven. Having a great female director like Ida Lupino, it's a match made, but apparently Roz and Ida didn't get along for a bit. For Ida was apparently drinking on set. I mean, she was hitting rock bottom. If you haven't seen my video on Ida Lupino, that will explain some things. But Roz reported it just the same, and they got along a little better after that. Roz also didn't get along with Hayley Mills. But Hayley was kind of in her spoiled rebellion age at 19 while making this movie, and didn't show a lot of respect to Roz. But that's perfectly fine, for it fit her character like a damn glove. The film was a sincere, heartwarming hit, but Rosalind did a friend a favor who was a Mother Superior in St. Louis and was starting a school, and convinced Columbia to have the premiere of The Trouble with Angels in St. Louis, which the proceeds helped fund her friend's school. If ever there was a list of greatest Mother Superiors in film, it would certainly be Rosalind Russell, on and off screen. Number 8, Picnic. Oh, a personal blast from the past for me, since I have actually done this show before, playing the Bill Holden role. But Rosalind Russell here, as the small Kansas town school teacher Rosemary Sidney, definitely gives the film such a rougher edge, which is very much needed for this narrative. Often referred to by some friends of mine as Our Town Picnic, because of the classic language of Americana. Thanks to playwright William Inge, this film was a cinemascopic hit with a great ensemble, including and especially Roz, giving the beauty of an empty soul in one empty town who just wants love without the constant small town surveillance, which tears her up to no end. Initially, Eileen Heckart wanted to play the role of Rosemary that she originated on Broadway. But Columbia Pictures wanted a bigger name, and since Roz and director Joshua Logan, who directed the Broadway production, were friends, who better than Rosalind Russell? All of her scenes have the seasoned veteran flair that you love watching every time, and it goes to show how powerful her dramatic chops were in that beautiful scene between she and Oscar nominee Arthur O'Connell, when it's dead at night and he has just dropped her home. It's so tragic.
If a woman wants me to marry her, she can at least say, please.
Please, marry me, Howard. Please.
The studio was wanting to campaign Roz for Best Supporting Actress, but she refused. And in my opinion, if she had gone through the campaign, she actually might have won. Jo Van Fleet is phenomenal in East of Eden, who ultimately won, but this would have been Rosalind's time, and she received some of the greatest reviews in her career. Number 7, Sister Kenny.
Do you know how people talk to each other when they haven't got ears? They talk with their hands. Well, that's what we're going to do.
I'm sure a very surprising placement indeed, considering how monumental Rosalind Russell's second Academy Award nominated performance for Best Actress is here, playing real-life Australian bush nurse Sister Elizabeth Kenny, and her amazing story and influence in medical history, specifically helping patients suffering from polio by placing hot compresses on the patient's muscles to passive movements of those areas to prevent spasms, rather than the conventional method at this time of placing plaster casts on the patients. Her actions were very much the influence of what we have in physical therapy today, and is seen as absolutely a great heroine. And who better than Rosalind Russell to play her, with a great amount of truth and beauty, rising up from a hopeful giver to then gaining her confidence, fighting for what she believes works in the dear patients she cares for. Rosalind campaigned heavily for this role once she found out it was in development, mainly because one of Sister Kenny's patients was actually Rosalind's nephew. So you can clearly see how much this story meant to Roz. She has so many effective moments, but her best scene is actually in the examining room with Dr. Brack, where she fights him on everything and the debate goes on for a great long time. But Roz nails every point with a punctuated grip.
20 years ago in the bush, I had that chance. I had 6 acute cases, and they all recovered. But ever since then, over and over, I've heard the same thing whenever a patient showed improvement. He didn't have polio.
Have you finished?
I'll never finish until you stop doing that.
The film did poorly at the box office, but folks remembered how brilliant Rosalind Russell could be with such dear material of a true heroine. Number 6.
Sleep with the doll, will you, Scram?
My Sister Eileen. This may be too high, sure, but frankly, this is Rosalind Russell in pure screwball form, earning her first Academy Award nomination for Best Actress here. If you ask me, the nomination could be left over from her previous brilliant work just 1 to 2 years before. However, her sizzlingly hysterical yet grounded performance as Ruth Sherwood caters to so many women, new to lovely and happy-go-lucky New York City. Am I right? Moving to New York City with her sister Eileen, get it? They plant themselves on a solid quest to further their careers. Ruth as a writer and Eileen as a Broadway actress. However, men just seem to get in the way all the time. Crazy! Roz literally has so much fun as the silly high-strung sister with a creative edge, living in their basement apartment in Greenwich. Based on the real-life experiences of author Ruth McKenney, moving to NYC from Ohio with her sister Eileen, which was made into the 1940 play. The partnership between Roz and Janet Blair as her sister is beautiful and fun casting. Significantly, almost 10 years later, Roz would reprise the role for Broadway in the musical version Wonderful Town, which ultimately won Rosalind the Tony for Best Actress in a Musical. It will always be known as one of the greatest achievements she ever felt. The musical version was remade with Jack Lemmon and Janet Leigh, with way different music, but nothing beats Rosalind, showcasing the greatest take of a caring sister who has a sincere head on her shoulders, but not afraid to act silly. That's true courage and lovability on screen you don't get all the time. Number 5, Gypsy.
I had a dream about you, baby. It's gonna come true, baby.
Is this a controversial take, maybe? Yes, I know. Okay, I know. It can be so shocking to be so low here, or even so high on this list, given to how iconic Roz's 5th Golden Globe winning performance is in this Broadway hit, based on the memoir of Gypsy Rose Lee, which is certainly a record at that time, having won every Golden Globe she'd ever been nominated for. Roz originally was going to play Mama Rose in a strictly dramatic film of the story, not a musical. But since the book was tied to the musical, Roz had no choice but to say yes, even when Broadway originator Ethel Merman wanted to reprise her role for the film so badly. Also, Anne Margaret and Judy Garland wanted to step in for that role, which, oh man, folks, can you imagine Judy Garland playing Mama Rose here? But we still have the amazing Rosalind Russell, dynamite, as ever. Some folks still complain that her voice was not right enough for Mama Rose, and the vocal assistance of Lisa Kirk didn't help it that much. But I say, she is absolutely incredible and commanding in the role that lyric writer Stephen Sondheim said himself he'd always prefer actors that sing rather than singers that can act, because songs should be acted with every passionate muscle in their body. And when you see Roz stop the show with Everything's Coming Up Roses, you know for sure how powerful a player she was.
I thought you did it for me, Mama. I thought you did it for me, Mama. I thought you made a no-talent ox into a star because you like doing things the hard way, Mama.
To this day, folks are reeling on how she wasn't nominated for the Best Actress Oscar here. For we all should never forget how brilliant in musicals she was. But more than that, just brilliant in storytelling and giving justice to any role with class and bite. Number 4, The Women.
Edith, take a good grip on yourself. You're going to die. Stephen Haynes is stepping out on Mary.
Ladies, pets, how I wish this was much, much higher because of obvious reasons. Quite frankly, the role and performance that put Roz really on the map as Mrs. Sylvia Fowler, the sniveling black cat of a cousin of Norma Shearer's Mary Haynes, who discovers by Sylvia that her husband is having an affair with the evil witch with a capital B, Crystal Allen, played by the one and only Joan Crawford. In my opinion, you do not have the historical treasure of this film, yes, without the whole all-female cast of greats, but specifically Rosalind, who steals every single scene from every Oscar winner she snarls at here. She, again, was not necessarily taken seriously to play Sylvia, and she had to fight to get the role, screen testing 5 times to ultimately burlesquing the role, which director George Cukor finally saw the magnitude in her. Cukor told her to really play her broadly so that the audience wouldn't hate her, being the heavy. Roz was scared to death on how to approach Sylvia fully, but she was in amazing hands with Cukor. And Rosalind always said she owed her career to Cukor for directing and guiding her brilliantly as Sylvia. But also, Rosalind is one of the smartest actresses in cinema. She knew how to bring a heightened level of slapstick that was so sincere and joyous. Rosalind was so damn good that she even fought and earned her 3rd billing credit right underneath Norma and Joan, which literally looks like it's squeezed in, but it's properly deserved. And every time I watch The Women, which is more than like twice a year, I always await every scene with Mrs. Sylvia Prowler.
Fowler.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Fowler.
That Prowler, really?
She's laughing at us. I know. I can see from here.
I believe she is. She called me that deliberately. I'll have her fired. I'll go straight to the management this minute.
See what I mean? Number 3, morning becomes Electra.
You know I love Oren. Show me the way to save him. Please, please.
My friends, if you say this is overrated or too high, you are clearly mistaken. With all the love in my heart to you, Rosalind Russell's amazing performance here as Lavinia Manon, the vengeful succeeding daughter, is one of the greatest achievements by an actress who has always been typecast as the comedian. A career best performance that showcases the power that Rosalind possessed. Katharine Hepburn and Bette Davis were in the running to play Lavinia, but after the great playwright Eugene O'Neill saw Rosalind do Sister Kenny, he felt more than confident to have her play the jealous daughter of Christine, her mother who's in love with Lavinia's own prospect. All the scenes she shares with Sir Michael Redgrave as Oren, her brother, are so heavy and yet very underlyingly sensual, which is definitely O'Neill's silent subtext.
I should die mysteriously of heart failure.
Oh, leave me alone. How can you be so horrible? Don't you know I'm your sister who loves you, who'll give her life to bring you peace?
I don't believe you. I know you're plotting something, but I warn you. I won't stand for you leaving me for Peter. And if I should die...
Oh, stop having such thoughts. You're like a devil torturing me. Oh, I won't listen.
Some folks say the 2.5-hour final cut, which has been aired on TCM and available here on YouTube thanks to a dear friend of mine, Nicholas Graves, subscribe to him now, is very tedious and pretentious. Some scenes can be viewed as over the top. Sure, let's not be so coy. But overall, I believe that's what adds to its drama, to its Irish melancholy. Her performance is much more lived in, that you feel the desperation, the pain, the yearning that she so urgently needs. It also hits a little more for me since her name is practically my grandmother's name. Rosalind still receives some of the best buzz of her career, earning her 3rd Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. Feeling so sure to win, when Frederick March announced the winner, Rosalind stood right up until she realized Loretta Young won for The Farmer's Daughter, which in my opinion still isn't right. But Rosalind still won her Golden Globe for Best Actress and was set in stone as being one of the greatest actresses ever, with mastering the arts of both comedy and tragedy. Number 2, His Girl Friday.
Yeah, that's the story I just read. Yes, I know we had a bargain. I just said I'd write it. I didn't say I wouldn't tear it up. It's all in little pieces now, Walter, and I hope to do the same for you someday.
Folks, if I could have this much higher, hot damn, you know I could, because to most, this happens to be their favorite performance by Roz, which, I mean, how could it not be? One of the greatest American screwball comedies of all time, based on Ben Hecht and Charles MacArthur's brilliant 1928 play, The Front Page, which the great Howard Hawks was inspired at a role play party to do another film adaptation of the play after the 31 film version. This time with reporter Hildy Johnson being played by a woman, which gives the plot of her character wanting to leave the newspaper racket to go get married, even though her editor scumbag, Walter Burns, wants her to stay and cover one last story. So much fun and gives it so much dimension. Oh, and by the way, they used to be married. The repartee is astoundingly astounding, calculating 240 words a minute rather than the standard 90 words a minute. And of course, they found the right cast to do it, with Cary Grant being cast almost immediately when the film was in development, but Roz was hard to confirm again. They wanted all the great comedic female stars first, like Carole Lombard, Irene Dunne, Katharine Hepburn, Jean Arthur, Claudette Colbert, Ginger Rogers, you name it. And they all either turned it down or were too expensive. So it felt like Roz was the last resort, and she felt that. But when the screen test blew them away, there was nobody better coming off her brilliant comedic performance in The Women. She actually was so fearful of being fired because she felt like she was still failing, as Hawks didn't say a word to her, almost feeling like she was being set up to fail. But co-star Carrie kept her at ease by just sticking to her method, and part of that method was bringing in her own writer to add some more lines for her, beefing up her character. With her dynamic ad-libs and fast-paced star quality, she was a match for Cary Grant rather than a mere co-star. All the chemistry they have just lights up the screen, delivering some of the most iconic sequences in comedy. Rosalind Russell always held a special place in her heart for this classic, since this was the film Cary Grant took her out on a date, as Roz tells it. Roz feeling like, ooh, she finally gets to be with Cary Grant in that way, only to be introduced to a man named Frederick Brisson, Carrie's friend, who was so enamored with Roz. And Roz was not expecting that at all. She's like, who the frick are you? But come to find Frederick as her loving husband for 35 years until her unfortunate death in 1976, whose performance as journalist Hildy has indeed inspired the likes of Lois Lane and has entered at number 28 on Premiere Magazine's 100 Greatest Performances of All Time in Film. All right, folks, here are some honorable mentions for you. Live, Love, and Learn. A silly, cute, yet bland romantic comedy starring Rosalind with a consistent co-star, Robert Montgomery, who made 5 films together, this film being their third. You know, it's that standard story where poor boy meets rich girl, they fall in love, get married, but once poor boy becomes rich, he changes, rich girl don't like that. It's very cute and does give that first glimpse in Rosalind's career that she could excel in comedy like no other, which came out 2 years before The Women. Though Night Must Fall is definitely the best film starring both Robert Montgomery and Rosalind, her best performance with Robert is certainly this one, since she is given more meat and potatoes to play with. No Time for Comedy, a lovely film adaptation based on the 1939 play pairing Rosalind with Jeremy Storr. Look at this coupling, playing husband and wife. Roz, a beautiful and popular actor, and Jimmy, a playwright. When he's convinced to try to write a tragedy, it doesn't exactly go over well. The film, again, is nothing exhilarating, but I'd be crazy not to watch the great chemistry erupt on screen between Jimmy and Roz. Jimmy does look uncomfortable a lot of the time, which fits the character, but Roz looks totally at ease and in control. And it's another great dose of how confident an artist is with poor comedy writing and just bringing herself to the table to make it shine. It also features some of the best bloopers I think we've all seen from time to time.
Well, I can't work around here. Oh, you're following me. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh. And they'll stay in their seats and they'll yell. They're yelling. Hello! It is because Amanda's a complete idiot.
I think she's a clever idiot, but an idiot, never the same.
Flight for Freedom. Truly a significant and controversial film, for it was blatantly based on the life and work of inspirational aviator Amelia Earhart, with Rosalind playing said aviator, but named Tony Carter, trailing her work as a pilot, breaking aviator records, furthering the belief she was spying on the Japanese during World War II, which led to her famous disappearance. The film is quite dated, but Rosalind gives it such an honesty that makes it so gripping from start to finish. She was also so committed to the airtime, being pregnant with her only son, Lance, while filming. Never wave at a WAC.
Oh, I'm one of your brand new officers. Can you tell me where to go?
which on Rosalind's whole significant list of comedies, this film is not one of the greatest. However, it's very honorable because of how much Roz still gives it spice and just a sense of pure fun. Also, it is one of the dear films produced by Rosalind and Frederick's production company, Independent Artists, about a divorced socialite joining the army to see her boyfriend, but her superior is actually her ex-husband. So now her life is a living hell. Very much a basis of Goldie Hawn and Private Benjamin. So we can say Rosalind Russell again inspires another comic genius with her high-powered wacky abilities on screen. Craig's wife. Yes, ooh, how this came so super close to being in the top 10, of course, based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning play written by Princess Grace Kelly's uncle, George Kelly. Everyone knows the Joan Crawford remake with Harriet Craig, but many shall remember the valuable performance Roz gives as the questionable wife of Walter Craig. Harriet, who just likes things her way, seemingly just in control of the household, which is fine. But yet, where's the true love between husband and wife? Rosalind's performance is so strong as the leader of the household who, one by one, disgusts the family until ultimately left all on her lonesome. Roz didn't want to take on this role, but she made the wise decision to follow through, and certainly became a very important performance for Roz's serious starring career. And with a partnership between she and director Dorothy Arzner, she certainly made a nice imprint on the value of inspirationally strong feminism, but also the beauty of strong feminism. Number 1.
But darling, I'm your Auntie Mame.
Of course. You know it. Her most memorable and brilliant performance that lives on forever and ever, my friends, receiving her 4th and final Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, recreating her amazing Tony-nominated performance from Broadway, originating the role for the play. Not to be confused indeed with the musical, but the classic comedy that still holds up like nobody's funny business, Auntie Mame.
No! You do have a bust. Oh.
You want to talk about a serious comeback for her when her career slightly dwindled in the early 50s, and Broadway was her home. That's the real artist's way. And once Auntie Mame became such a hit for Broadway, the film was destined to ignite the same praise with only Rosalind in that role, which everyone agreed, resulting in being the second highest grossing film of 1958 after South Pacific. The film itself, again, would not be the iconic classic without Rosalind Russell as our lovely Auntie Mame. She commands every single frame and carries the whole film, even though the whole ensemble is terrific. But Rosalind Russell is the show. But she doesn't make it her whole show. She always gives and gives and gives to every one of her co-stars, all the time, featuring some of the most hilarious sequences ever put to film, from her grand entrance down the stairs, where she actually broke her ankle and delayed the shooting schedule because of her recovery, to the beautiful and endearing moments with Patrick, her nephew, that she inherits and takes care of, and mastering one of the most difficult and brilliant sequences in all of comedy with the...
Whitcomb Gutterman, half white, business in black. You want to talk to Mr. Gutterman? One moment, sir. I'll connect you. Whitcomb Gutterman, half white, business in black. Oh, yes, Mr. Bibman. You'd like to talk to Mr. Halfwhite? Yes, sir. He's in. I'll connect you.
As an actor myself, I am just in awe of how she nails that with her superior expert timing and diction. Seriously, if Susan Hayward didn't come out with I Want to Live in the same year, which ultimately won her the Oscar, Rosalind Russell, without a doubt, deserved that Oscar as well. The Oscars are always so ridiculous when it comes to comedy performances. Thinking, what, comedy is so easy? There have been rarities, certainly, but if any Oscar that was totally due, it was Roz for Auntie Mame. Certainly in our hearts and souls, she won it here. And Rosalind Russell will always be our Auntie Mame. A legend in cinema to me is always someone whom you can watch over and over again and never get tired of. An artist who has battled it all within work, within life, and still chooses to smile, to persevere. The epitome of what Rosalind Russell was and is. Having battled breast cancer, but before she was taken from us, dedicated her life to multiple charities, having the Medical Research Center for Arthritis named after her, and donating to many, many more. In her autobiography, Life is a Banquet, she never regretted a single action on it. Finally, for her monumental work in charity and giving, and her lifetime achievement in cinema, she received the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Oscar in 1973. You name any great female artist in Hollywood now, the real artists, like Scarlett Johansson, Emma Stone, Margot Robbie, and many, many more, they will say that Rosalind Russell played a deeper impact in their hearts growing up, as I'm sure she did for you, and she did for me. This holiday season, cuddle up with Rosalind Russell some more, and give more to your faithful friends who are dear to us, and celebrate Rosalind Russell for generations and generations.
My friends, is my farewell to the newspaper game. I'm going to be a woman, not a newspaper machine.
Just for this time. But my dear friends, tell me now, do you agree with my Rosalind picks? What are your favorite performances by this great American icon? Oh, please let me know in those magical comments. Like, share with all your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and stay tuned for a whole new year of breathtaking entries. And if you want to make requests, my friends, they are confirmed on the Patreon channel, which the link to subscribe is in the bio. On that note, my dear friends, thank you all so very much for watching, for supporting, for subscribing. Of all the content that's available on this platform, you came across mine and through the goodness of your own heart decided to watch, and I can't thank you all sincerely enough for that. That I always want to give you the best of what I love and appreciate, and what inspires me. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you all, and here's to a very happy new year, no matter what happens. It's going to be 2025, and let's quote our favorite Auntie Mame with,
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death. Now, come on, Agnes, live! Live! Come, child, live! Live! Live!